it gives him that sense of knowing that there is agency that you have in life. And you
Right.
can always make a decision, you can always choose a
Yeah.
path.
Hello, beautiful people. Welcome to another episode of Parenthood, the podcast where we dive deep into the real stories of parenthood, navigating the joys, challenges, and everything in between. This is a space for honest conversations where we embrace the messy, the beautiful, and the deeply personal aspects of raising children while balancing our own lives. Today, I have the absolute pleasure of speaking with someone whose name is synonymous with storytelling and nostalgia for so many of us. Joining me is Preeti Vyas, President and CEO of Amar Katha Private Limited. Her work has been instrumental in shaping how generations of children engage with stories, culture, and history. But today, we are here to talk about a different kind of storytelling, the one that unfolds in her own life as a mother. Preeti is the proud mother of Neel, who was born in 2009 and is now 16. She has been a single parent since 2016, and she describes her parenting journey as the most meaningful and satisfying experience of her life. Preeti and Neel share a deep bond, one built on trust, support, and an evolving friendship. We are going to talk about her experiences navigating single parenthood, the lessons she has learned along the way, and how parenting, much like storytelling, is a continuous process of discovery. So let's dive in. Preeti, welcome to Parenthood. I'm so excited to have this conversation with you.
Thank you, Neha. Very excited and happy to be here as well. End up talking so much about my work that it's really refreshing to talk about the parenting journey with you. I'm looking forward to the conversation.
Thank you. Thank you. And let's just start right away. Before we get into the parenting, I want to start with you. If you were to describe yourself using three words or phrases that capture the essence of who you are, what would they be and why?
Um, I'd say passionate
Mm-hmm.
and resilient
Mm-hmm.
and positive.
Wow, beautiful, beautiful. And if I were to say, if Neil were to describe you as a mother in three words, what do you think are the words that he will choose?
So what's happened now is that he is five. So he keeps telling me, reminding me that I'm small. He wants me to keep saying that I'm small. So I think you definitely use the word small to, you know, describe me. And what else would he say? I think he would say funny,
Uh-huh.
right? And I think he would say loving
Wow.
for sure. Yeah.
Beautiful. And tell us about Neil. What's he like? What are some of the quirks and qualities that make him uniquely he?
So he's quite an amazing child, and of course, every mom will say that about their own child. But definitely, he is a very creative person.
Mm-hmm.
He has what I love about him is that he has a lot of independent thought about things. He has an opinion about things since he was very young. He's had an opinion about things, and he articulates that opinion passionately and well. Right, that's
Right.
something which is really good about him, and he reads a lot.
Mm-hmm.
Very, very voracious reader. Currently, he is reading a lot of philosophy books. He's reading
Wow.
Camus and Kant, and I don't know kind of books he's reading. And then he wants to discuss existentialism and all kinds of different philosophies, and wants to talk. And you haven't. I can't believe you haven't read this book. Or I'm like, you know what? Maybe I read it when I was 20 or something. But please read it again so we can talk about it. So he's in that zone.
Yeah.
He's a very avid chess player.
Uh-huh.
He plays chess. He plays chess competitively. Again, a lot of opinions about how chess should be played and how it is being played in the world. Uh,
Right.
oh yeah, he's quite and he's yeah, very creative guy. And I think one other good thing about him is that he's a very liberal person. So he really
Mhm.
believes in equality and in compassion for others. I think again having an opinionated mom kind of helps in having those feminist qualities as well.
Right. Right.
So if somebody were to say that, oh, so and so, like the Chinese are bad, he will correct them. And he's done that in a
Right.
part that it's not that the Chinese are bad, it's maybe some Chinese people might not be good, right?
Right.
Can't write off a whole race or a whole country because of some people. So
Yeah.
he's got that kind of quality about him. And yeah,
Right.
he's a reader, a writer, thinker, and he's got a great sense of humor.
Right. Just, I would say, just like his mother then.
Oh, thank you. Yeah,
And Preeti, I want to talk about, your journey as a single parent. You've been a single parent since many, many years now.
right.
What has it been like for you? How has your bond with Neel evolved over the years? Because it's just you and him.
Yeah. So, of course, like any situation, whether it is single parenting, co-parenting, or being married parents, I think everything has its pros and cons and has its
Right.
ups and downs, and things that work and things that don't. And surely there have been a lot of challenging times. It is a scary journey at many places, especially, for example, if the child is sick. It is
Right.
really scary to be, with a child at, 2 a.m. and he's burning up, 103 degrees fever, and you can't even catch a nap yourself because you need to monitor that temperature, and you're just, it's just you and him,
Yeah.
and you don't have that backup.
Yeah.
The COVID period was really scary because I kept thinking, what if I get it and I have to be hospitalized or something? Then what happens? So you have to keep
Right.
thinking. That there is, in that sense, of course, you have a community of neighbors, friends, family members, but that's on the outside.
Right.
At that innermost level, it's only you, and you've got to sort of depend on yourself, and so that is challenging. That is hard. But on the flip side, it's also very, very rewarding. I
Mhm.
don't think I would have had the kind of bond I have with him if I were not a single parent, right? Because
Right.
one is the buck stops here. There's nobody else to go to, right? So you have to make it work. And he knows that it's not like mom says no, so go ask dad or whatever. It's not like that, right?
Yeah.
This is it, right? She's what I've got, and we have to make it work. And I think we both realize that we've got to make it work. So even when we have arguments, of course we have arguments and fights, and I admonish him. I'm his mom, so I will admonish him for things. And this morning, in fact, he said, "What did he say? His eyes were strict. That was a serious lapse of judgment." And I'm like, because he decided to not go to basketball class because at 6:30 he was really sleepy, and he said, I'm not going. And I put the AC off and opened the window, and two mosquitoes came in, and he was like, that's a serious lapse of judgment, and you're ruining my sleep. So we have a lot of fights, arguments, but it never lasts long. It literally lasts maybe 15, 20 minutes at most, when we won't be talking to each other, because we know eventually, we this is it, right? We've got each other, and we've got to make it work. Uh,
Yeah.
and I think as he's grown up, we have developed. I depend on him as well now for a lot
Wow.
of things. It's not just him depending on me.
Yeah.
It was like me being the caregiver, me being the provider of everything. But now it's I depend on him for a lot of things, for a lot of support, for a lot of understanding, a lot of comfort, for a lot of laughs.
Hmm.
So it's a very beautiful relationship. Touch wood, like I said, the most meaningful one of my life, and to
Yeah.
see it, as a 16-year-old now, to see it blossom and to see it evolve is it's been wonderful.
Yeah. Yeah. And you've said that now he's 16. From raising maybe a toddler to raising a teenager, how the
Yeah,
shift has been. Now,
right.
as you said, you're more like friends and you also depend on him.
Yeah,
Earlier, only it was a one-way relationship, if I may call it that. So,
yeah.
how has that been?
So I'm still holding my breath, waiting for those terrible teens to come in, where I'm told that it's touch wood, it's not happened as yet, where he has slammed the door and gone away on me, or it's just not been like that. It's literally like just been it's been like two friends, right?
Wow.
In
Yeah.
fact, he's one person who's not interested, very rare teen who's not interested in his phone. So
Right.
if I'm on my phone, he'll say, see this now, look what's happening here. I'm supposed
Yeah.
to be the one stuck on my phone, and you're the one who's not listening to what I'm saying and is, distracted. Put it away. I'm like, oh my God, he's right.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
yeah, the teens have not been, touch wood, difficult, at least so far.
Right.
Maybe it will kick in later. But yeah, so far, so good.
Yeah, and you touched upon it briefly, Preeti. You said, you have a community of friends and
Yeah.
supporters, and as they say, it takes a village to raise a child. So, who is in your village? What are the people or things that you fall back on when the time comes?
Yeah. So I would actually like to start with the with my helpers, with my driver, and we have a full-time, lady full-time helper at home with us. That is the innermost circle. That's really important, right? Because they're the
Yeah,
ones who keep things going, and she's the one who opens the door when he comes back from school. So
yeah,
everything else is secondary. These two are really
yeah.
uh, important part of that circle. After that, there are a lot of amazing friends that we have. Um,
Right,
I've also been very sort of conscious or trying to expose him to a lot of my male friends, whether it's dads of other friends of his or my male friends, because I think it's important for him to also see to interact with a lot of male figures, right, and
right,
successful and good male figures, because that will also influence him
right.
quite a bit. So we have multiple circles of friends whom we interact with. And so there's a building group, and there's another group that we have, which we call the movie club gang, that we
Uh-huh.
meet up and watch movies. And then of course there are his friends and the friends' parents who we are good friends with. So
Right.
yeah, and then of course I have two sisters, and their kids, so the cousins are there. So yeah, it's quite a good network of
Yeah.
people.
Yeah. And Preeti, I want to understand from you. You said being a single parent comes with its own unique set of highs and lows. What is something about this particular role you wish people understood more, or it was talked about more?
I think one very important thing, Neha, is that especially in the Indian society, I personally know a lot of people who are in very unhappy marriages,
Right.
almost toxic marriages, and they feel that they need to stay for the sake of the children.
Right.
And they're making this ultimate sacrifice and enduring this terrible relationship because of the child or the children. And somehow they feel that they'll be doing a great disservice to the child by ending that marriage. And I just want to tell people that, look, it's what your child deserves more than anything else is a happy parent, right? And a peaceful environment to grow up in. Uh,
Yeah.
that is far more important than showing up at a family wedding with both parents and the kid and presenting this happy family unit, which is unfortunately very important in India to present that happy family unit. But those are 5 times a year when you're probably doing that, and the rest of the times, the rest of the 360 days, you're sharing the roof with someone and you're not getting along and it's not working. Just consider that it's not that hard. I
Right.
think for women, of course, financial independence is an important aspect. You need to be financially independent. I think that is something that's very, very crucial. But if you do have that, it's not impossible to bring up a child. In fact, I think children who grow up, and from whatever research I have read, children who grow up in single parent families do grow up to be extremely well adjusted, resilient, understanding, and perfectly normal and
Yeah. Yeah.
well adjusted. In fact, I think that it makes them a lot stronger
Right.
because they also go through the separation in their own way. They process it, and it gives them. I think in the case of my son, it gives him that sense of knowing that there is agency that you have in life. That you
Right.
can always make a decision. You can always choose a
Yeah.
path, right?
Yeah.
Even though it might be hard in the short term, you can always choose something which you feel is better for you in the long run.
Right, right. And I also want to touch upon the separation a bit, Preeti, if you're comfortable about it. That how was it for Neel? I'm sure it was, it's a decision that you kind of impose on the child,
That's
right?
true. That's true.
Yeah. So
Yes.
how did he take it? What was it like for him?
So I think I'm again very blessed that it was very smooth.
Mhm.
I had my antenna up and I was prepared to see, I was keeping a very close eye to see how he was taking it. But I think because his dad had been traveling also a lot, and he was quite young when the separation happened. He was just 7. So,
Yeah.
in that sense, I was always sort of the primary. And I think in the early years, it is the mom who is the primary, caregiver or the primary parent in a younger child's life. So, I think for him, that continuity remained.
Mm-hmm.
And we remained in the same house for at least 3 years
Mm-hmm.
before I moved out. So, in
Right.
that sense, his life did not get impacted as much.
Mm-hmm.
And he had his own, already got his own friends at school, all those things remain constant. So, I think maintaining that consistency, at least for some time, was important
Right.
for him to get that feeling of, continuity.
Yeah. And
And
for
then, of
you,
course, COVID happened. So, that, of course,
yeah.
was a crazy experience for everyone, right?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And for you, Preeti, how have you navigated moments of loneliness or overwhelm that come with, you, as you said, if the child is sick, then you don't have a backup in that moment. You don't have the other person to,
Yeah.
bank
But I
upon.
think, Neha, one is that I practice Buddhism,
Yeah,
right? And I chant. Namyo Renge Kyo is been a big part of my life since 2011. So I've been chanting for, like it's been 14 years now. So I do rely a lot on my faith to keep me going, to sort of empower me and charge me up to take on. And Buddhism is a practice where we take on life's challenges. We don't shy away from them, right? So you
right,
confront whatever obstacles, you confront the challenges, and you use them as a springboard to something greater in your life. So that is one aspect. Second is again, it's a Buddhist perspective, which is suffer what there is to suffer and enjoy what there is to enjoy, right? So there is a sense of acceptance that there are going to be shit times in life.
yeah,
Everybody has them. And why am I any different than I would not have shit times in life? So
yeah,
everybody has difficult times. Every single human being has had periods of loneliness, periods of overwhelm. Whether you're married, single, divorced, widowed, whatever situation you're in, who has not faced these times, right?
right, right,
That realization that it's not happening to me alone. This is the part of being a human being, right? And
right,
it's about navigating or being. I think it's taken me a long time to learn to be sort of be a friend to myself and be kind to myself and allow those moments to come and sit and leave eventually.
right, right. And now coming back to Neil, I want to know, have there been moments when he has surprised you with his wisdom or, kind of perspectives on life? You've just said, oh my God, I birthed this human being.
Oh, all the time. I mean, all the time he's continuously giving me such sage life advice. I think the fact is that he's been so um, for a child. I think he's not yet experienced sort of life in its full glory. So cynicism, negativity, those things have not yet sort of taken over or corrupted the worldview. There's so much purity and innocence, right?
Right, right.
So yeah, a lot of times he's full of advice. He's full of like I've been having this really bad sciatica pain for the last couple of days, and um, I've been running around as usual, doing my other things, going for meetings, going to visit my mom. And he sat me down. He said, what do you think you're doing? Like, why are you not taking care of this?
Yeah.
Well, he said, if this doesn't work, none of that is going to work anyway. And I'm like, he's right.
Yeah.
Promise me that before I come back from school tomorrow, you will, go to the doctor and you will sort this out.
Did you?
I did actually, partly. I have to start the physiotherapy now.
And in the same vein, Preeti, if you were to talk about just one thing that makes you incredibly proud that you are Neil's mother.
Um, I think everything about him is something I'm very proud of. It's nothing that I'm not proud of. Like I think I was at a parenting workshop and somebody asked, the question was, what is one thing about your child you would like to change?
Mm-hmm.
And I said nothing.
Mm-hmm.
I would not want to change anything. He
Yeah.
is who he is, and he's a beautiful person, and it's fine. There's nothing I would like to change about him, right?
Yeah.
So I'm very proud of the fact that he academically takes care of his own work. Like I have no idea what exam is when, what submission is when. He's just
Yeah.
on top of it. He manages on his own.
Yeah.
His gets really good grades. I mean, it's never been anything that I've needed to actively
Yeah.
get involved. So I love that sense of, being his own person, and he just does it. He takes,
Yeah.
and always he's been that way. Like he's
Yeah.
never really needed me. He's been so independent in that sense.
Yeah.
And I'm also very proud of the fact that he's genuinely very affectionate, very loving, very caring. I think those are very beautiful qualities which will hold
Yeah.
him in good stead in life, right?
Yeah. Yeah. And I hope he knows that.
Yes, yes.
Yeah. And let's go back to the beginning of your parenthood journey, Preeti.
Right.
Can you share what it was like when he was born? What do you remember the most about those initial months or weeks with him?
So initial weeks, I had to have a C-section, and I remember being very upset about it, right?
Hmm.
And I felt like I'd not been able to nurse him in the immediately after birth, and all those things. I had a lot of, um, I was very upset about all that. Uh,
Yeah.
and I did not want to formula feed him. I was very sure of that. So those couple of weeks were very challenging because, I had decided that I'm not going to go to formula. And then finally, we managed to crack the whole nursing piece, and
Yeah.
I nursed him for a very, very long time. And yeah, so that was, getting over those. I think the pregnancy, I was 34 when he was born,
Hmm.
sense a little bit later, and I was so consumed with the pregnancy itself that I never for me the highlight reel ended with pregnancy 9 months ho gaya, and now I'm beautifully holding this baby and I'm smiling for the picture, and that's where it ends. I never really thought
Yeah.
beyond it, right, that I'm going to have to take care of this baby. And a lot of it, they keep on saying, oh, motherhood instinct. It doesn't all come naturally. So much of it has to be learned, right? So
Yeah.
much of it is learned behavior.
Yeah.
And you get so much of, like totally diverse opinions and advice from everyone, from the security guard to your mother-in-law to your sister. Everybody's saying different things. And
Yeah.
it's very confusing.
Yeah.
So I'm just glad that I've always had this habit of reading a lot and depending on books for advice more than people.
Yeah. Yeah.
So yeah, I remember reading a lot, keeping a lot of logs and writing things down and trying to. I remember consulting a child psychologist when he was just 6 months old, and I remember walking in and she thought there was something wrong.
Yeah.
How would you come, right? Like, was it a C-section baby, developmental milestones? And she began asking me all these questions, and I said, no, there's nothing wrong.
Yeah.
She said, why are you here? I said, I'm
But
here
why were you here? Why were you there?
because not at 6 months, I think it must have been about a year. So I said that, look, on the physical health side, we are doing immunizations and we're doing so much preventive stuff to make sure he grows up healthy, right? But on
Right.
the mental health, nobody's telling you, right? What can I do to help his mind and his
Yeah.
brain develop, and what are the things that I don't want to be told at the age of 10 that you didn't do this when he was one and that's why you're having this problem. So I'm here from that perspective. And she was like, oh my goodness, right? In my 30-year career, probably you're the second person who has come and asked me, who's taken an appointment to come and see me about this, right? And then she recommended me all these different books and gave me all this stuff. And so I went to, and I joined this toy library, and I would look at the book and say, okay, it's 8 months made. This are the things that you're supposed to have. So I would go and specifically borrow those kind of toys and come back and play with him on those. I began reading to him when he was 15 days old. People thought
Wow.
it was nuts that what is a 15-day-old baby going to respond or understand? But I've done so much research. I know it
Yeah.
has a very, very powerful impact, and
Yeah.
very proud that the reading habit that he has today.
Yes. Yes.
I think those early years of reading, reading, reading together have really played a big role in his being such a voracious reader today.
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely. Absolutely. And Preeti, if you had to choose just one moment or one memory that defines what motherhood has been for you, what would it be?
Oh, that's a tough one. I have to think of defining motherhood. I don't know. I think just, lying on the bed next to each other and just talking about life and answering, especially when the lights are off, the kind of
Yeah.
questions, it's those moments, right, which stay with you.
Yeah, it's such a cozy setup
Yeah,
that you
yeah,
have, painted for us. And
right.
for in your personal journey, Preeti, in talking about your personal growth and how you have evolved as a person, how do you think motherhood has shaped you? Has it changed you as a person, or are you the same Preeti that was 16 years prior?
No, I don't think that's possible. I think motherhood impacts all of us in a very profound way. But I I always took the idea of motherhood. It's something I've always wanted to do, be in life.
Mhm.
When I was a kid, I didn't know what I wanted to do professionally, but I always wanted to be a mother. That's something that was in my list of things to do in life. That was very
Wow.
important. And I had attached so much importance to it that I never thought I was ready.
Mm.
So for a long time, I kept thinking that, oh, I'm so, short-tempered, or I'm so impulsive, or, I'm not ready yet. I'm not ready yet. So it took me a long time to finally say that, okay, like, look, I'm 34 now so it was almost 10 years after we were married that,
Yeah.
he was born. And so I think it was a stage where I was very, very ready. Like it was such a
Mm.
decision, it was such a choice. And I
Yeah.
think being a mom at 34 actually was the best decision because it came with a sense of a little bit of, maturity, a little. I
Right.
had already been working for so many years by then. I had been working since I was 21. So I had 13 years of solid work ex. I had traveled the world, I had earned money and done a lot of things. So there was no there was no resentment that, oh, because of this child I can't live my life or I can't do
Right.
that.
Right.
I think motherhood just sort of made me a calmer person.
Mm-hmm.
It just made me I think a happier person, if I could say that.
Yeah. 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 And you talked about reading a
And he
lot.
says, he tells me that you're just a gentle person, Mama. And a lot of people in my office today will also say that Preeti is a gentle person, right? But
Yeah.
you don't hear me shouting and screaming at anybody. I never do that.
Yeah.
In my previous life, people who had worked with me before Neel was born would say, oh, she's a tigress to work with, and things like that. So I
Yeah.
could see that there has been some difference in the way, but that also is him, life experiences, Buddhism, so many things playing a role, like in
Yeah.
how we evolve as human beings.
Yeah. Yeah. And you talked about reading, Preeti. You said you read a lot and you read a lot, and
Yeah.
he reads a lot. So, particularly in your parenting, if are there particular books that have affected and shaped how you have parented Neil?
Yeah, so I think I have not a particular book, but I
Mhm.
do read. I have read a lot of parenting books, done a parenting course on, that very, really famous book on how to talk so your kids will listen and listen so kids will talk. So I
Yeah.
did a whole parenting course based on that book
Oh, wow.
by a close friend. Her name is Yasmin, and she does amazing programs. So that I did that program. I've done, of course, a landmark forum and the whole landmark self-development program.
Mhm.
Plus reading so much, whether it is Buddhist books or books by children by experts in the different areas of children's development. There's the whole book about the nature deficit disorder and the whole importance by Dr. Richard Lowe on importance of nature in children's lives, on developing creativity. A lot of books, yeah. It's
Right, right. And now I want to talk about, you talked about one challenge, as in when the child is sick and you
yeah.
you just kind of lose it, right? But have there been any other particularly challenging moment in your journey as a parent that really, really tested you? And how did you get through it, and what did
So,
it?
the last 5 years after I joined full-time work again, I'm a Chitra Katha as a full-time corporate job, the travel has been very difficult. So
Right.
for the first 2 years, 3 years almost, 3 years actually, because the pandemic was just two. So
Yeah.
even after the pandemic, I wouldn't go overnight. So I
Yeah.
would, whether it is Calcutta or it is Bangalore, I would make it a day trip, which
Right.
means catching that early morning flight. And like, so if it's a 6 a.m. flight, you've got to be at the airport by 5
Fine.
and you leave home by 4 and you're going to be awake at 3.
Yeah.
By the time you come back home, it's again 1 a.m. So you have those crazy 22-hour kind of day. That was exhausting.
Mm-hmm.
And but for Neil, it was that thing of she's coming back, you know.
Right.
So when I wake up in the morning, she's going to be uh,
Yeah.
in bed. Like I'm going to see her, right?
Yes.
And
Yes.
she's going to send me off to school.
Yes.
So, or if, when I began doing overnight trips, even today, actually, if I'm doing an overnight trip, I will always try to plan it on a Friday.
Mm-hmm.
Then he has Saturday, he has holidays, and I can take, when I come back, he likes to sleep in because he'll be up late doing whatever. And when I come back on Saturday, it's fine, right? Because he is
Right.
just so the traveling has been hard.
Yeah.
Uh 23 we went to Comic Con San Diego. We had the opportunity to take ACK there, and luckily it was his summer holidays, so I took him along.
Yeah.
And when you were asking the like things of being proud, so that was one really proud moment for me because he came along because I couldn't leave him here for 15 days and go. Uh,
Right.
and I said, look, it's a chance to see the biggest Comic Con in the world. It'll be a good experience for him and it'll be fun. So, uh, you know, it was a large expense, but I'm like, okay, it's going to be worth it. So I took him along and I told him on the first day that look, you can stay in the hotel room and you can watch YouTube videos or play your games. That's one choice that you have, or you can come with me and you can
Mm-hmm.
help at the booth and you can see what it's like. And I'm really glad that he made the choice to come with me.
Wow.
And the first day he was a bit shy, so he was just helping, arrange things, or even my team was being very indulgent that it's Preeti's son, so they were giving him like the simpler jobs. But then day two onwards, he realized he was good at selling. Like he could talk to people and he could start selling things. And my team realized that he's really good at selling too. So suddenly my head of sales is giving him targets and said, Neel, if you focus on these things, I'll give you a commission from my commission on it. And he was completely in the zone. I'm standing there aghast because I've not seen the side of my son.
Right.
And he's coming telling me that I'm like, he's showing the Mahabharata to these people and saying that this is the Mahabharata and it had a very profound impact on my life. I'm like, you haven't read it, Neil. So he's like, these are all NRI parents. They have so much of anxiety over their children. Like, and imagine a 13-year-old child from India telling them to buy this book. I mean, how can they say no to me? So it was amazing. And then we had some people from, comics association. So people who've been in the world of comics for like 30, 40 years. And they came up and he didn't know who they were. I knew who they were. And
Right.
they began asking him because he was wearing the ACK t-shirt and helping customers. And I was about to step. Then I said, let me see what he says. And he handled the conversation beautifully. We had a graffiti wall and there was people who have actually left notes saying thank you, Neil, for showing me.
Wow.
There was a person who gave a $5 tip, for because in the US people keep tipping for everything. They gave a $5 tip and he's like, Papa, they gave me a $5 tip. I'm like, wow. So that was a very, very proud moment to watch him really get into the zone and, as a team member with the rest of my team,
Yes.
people who are in their, late 20s, 30s, and being able to stand next to them. And, it was very, very, really great moment.
Right. And I just love how you tell the stories, Preeti, and your
That's my
like
job, right?
yeah, your eyes light up, and I'm sure
And it's my favorite subject, so I can talk about him for, yeah.
yeah, and looking ahead, you've talked about how it has been till now, but looking ahead, what are you most excited about in the next phase of parenting a young adult?
Yeah, so I think now he's going to enter year 11. He's in the IBDP program, so it's a very rigorous 11th and 12th is really really hard. There's going to be a lot of academic pressure on him, and he's going to have to do that work. So that's going to be challenging for him
Mhm.
and for me to watch him. And already he's saying that this summer we can't travel because I've got too much work to do. And I'm
Right.
like, man, don't do that. That and then of course he's going to go away. I
Yeah.
think most probably he will go to study. He'll go abroad, and I'm wondering how that phase of life is going to be to live without him. I'm dreading it already. It makes my heart sink just to think about it.
Yeah.
But he'll have to learn, and I'll have to learn, and
Yeah. Yeah.
have to find sort of a new normal. So that yeah, that flying the nest is something which is uh, yeah, it's a depressing thought, but
Yeah.
I think as it's part of the parenting journey, right?
Right, right, right. And I want to know from you, Preeti, in your philosophy, what do you define as success in parenthood? How do you see it?
Success in parenthood, I think if you are able to have a relationship of friendship and trust and open communication with your child at
Mm.
all ages, I think that's a successful relationship.
Yeah, that's beautiful. That's
It's
beautiful.
nothing else. I don't care about the grades and I don't care about the sports medals or really anything.
Yeah,
Feel that if he can come up to me at any stage in life and he can just share what is going on with him, cry, be angry, whatever is happening, to
yeah,
just be able to talk and confide in me with a sense of trust and knowing that he's not going to be judged by me for it.
yeah,
I think that's success, right? Right there.
yeah. That's true. That's true. And what are some of the things that you two like to do together when you are two together?
So we play a lot of board games, a lot of card
Uh-huh.
games. We've learned how to play poker recently, so that's been a fun journey. Yeah, so a lot of games happen, movies happen, of course, and also quiet reading time. He's reading his book, I'm reading my book, and yeah,
Wow.
that's also very lovely. Put the AC on and just stretch out, and yeah, I think just being in the space, I realize it's important for him. If I'm just around at home, even if I'm working from home, he's okay as long as I'm there. He feels good about.
Right, right, right. And
And then hearing his stories, it's like it's really, really funny and crazy, the stuff that happens. And then he tells me stuff about school without taking names of anyone, but then I hear about all the crazy stuff that the friends are up to. So
right.
it's quite amazing. Yeah. Right
Yeah.
now, he started teaching chess to a 5-year-old in our building.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so he's like, you get so much respect as a teacher in India. Like the mom always makes me sit down, gives me a glass of thumbs up. He's very excited because she thumbs up to bring. I'm like, but is that 5-year-old? Is he happy to see you? She's like, yeah, he comes and he jumps on the sofa for 2 minutes and then he sits down to play chess. I'm like, okay, you're doing well if he's happy to see you.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And Preeti, I want to know from you if you could sit across from your pre-parent self, the Preeti before Neel was born,
Hmm?
what would you tell her? Any words of wisdom you wish you had back then?
I would just say don't overthink so much and like don't delay it. You're good enough even now you're good enough to be a parent. You'll be fine. You know.
Yeah, yeah. And I'm up to my last question now. And finally, if there was one insight or piece of advice you would like to leave with our listeners, something that truly encapsulates who you are and what you stand for as a parent, what would it be?
Uh, I think it's about respecting and trusting your child
Mm-hmm.
as an individual, as a independent entity. In fact, the other day we were talking about college and what subjects and what kind of, and I'm like, I feel really nervous about me giving you advice because what do I know, right?
Yeah,
I'm not an expert either. It's not like there are so many mistakes I have made in my life.
yeah,
It's not about me. Like, and the child has to be respected at any age
yeah,
as a individual,
yeah.
and that you have to, people become trustworthy when you trust them,
Right,
you know.
right,
So I think that giving that feeling of I trust you, I've got your back, go ahead and do it because I'm there, right?
right,
To catch the
right.
fall of any. I think that's an important. I read a very beautiful quote actually once that
Yeah.
as a parent, your job is to give your child repeated experiences of confidence,
Wow,
of success and
wow.
confidence in whatever way. So
Mm-hmm.
whatever exposure we are giving them, get them to because success breeds confidence. Confidence in turn breeds more success, and it makes that self very strong.
Right,
So
right.
that's my job, just to make sure that he keeps getting that experience of I can do this.
Mm-hmm.
I can take challenges on and I can try new things and just to have that energy to do it
Right.
and not doubt, not admonish, not scold.
Yeah.
No, I don't. I mean, I've never hardly yelled at him. And in fact, once he said to me that the worst moment is if you say, I'm disappointed in you. That's something I don't like to hear.
Mm.
So it's
Mm.
never been, I've never given him a timeout or given him punishment. There's never been a single punishment in my parenting journey. I don't believe in that as a philosophy.
Yeah.
So there's no punishment, there's no timeouts. But the fact that he feels that if I say I'm disappointed in you, that's something that hurts him. He
Yeah.
doesn't like to hear that.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
that's a good place to be in, right?
Yeah, yeah. And I just want to know from you, Preeti, because as an offshoot of this, is it also because you are a single parent? Because, you have the autonomy in that sense to decide single-handedly what's good for him and what's bad for him. Because I am parenting with my partner. So before parenting comes partnering, right? Because
Hmm.
you have to decide and you have to discuss and then you can execute something. But
Right.
you don't have to do that. You
Yeah,
just,
I guess that's one of the one of the upsides, right?
right,
That's one of
right.
the upsides.
Yeah, yeah.
But then also at the same time, it's a lot of pressure
Hmm.
because if things do go wrong, it's all going to come back to me, right?
Right.
Telling him that whatever goes well, if there's any discussion on what kind of parenting, it's the credit is going to come to me, and if you screw up, then it's going to come to me as well. So please, be extra careful. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. That's right. That's right. Any parting thoughts you have, Preeti? Anything you want to tell us, you want to say to us?
Um, no, I think just that journey of parenting is such a privilege,
Mm.
right? I know there are so many couples or so many people who struggle to have children, who don't have resources or struggle, in so many different ways. And if you're lucky enough to have the resources and to have a healthy child, it's um, such a privilege, and one should never take that lightly. Never
Right.
forget that. It's such a joy and it's such a privilege, and it's one of the best gifts you can have in life.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
when people talk to me about Amar Katha and talking about legacy and what's a legacy that you want to leave behind, then I always answer that I feel like the whole notion of legacy is a very arrogant one, right? Because it makes you it's like I am bigger than whatever I'm doing, right? That's legacy. I don't think there's any question of legacy. Chitra Katha is a 58-year-old brand. There are many CEOs performing. There'll be many after me. You do your best work and you add value. The only legacy I care about is how Neel remembers me after I'm gone. That's
Beautiful.
the only legacy in life I want to leave behind. That when he is, whatever, 40, 50, he should look back and say, I had a good mom. Right? Like
Oh,
she was a good parent to me.
yeah.
I had a good childhood.
Yeah.
That's all I care about in terms of legacy. Baki, it's work and you apply your best and you try and do your best.
Yeah. Yeah. How beautiful. This has been such a beautiful, heartwarming conversation, Preeti. Thank you for sharing your journey, your
Thank you,
wisdom.
Neha. Thank you so much.
And it's been such a pleasure to have you here.
I love talking to you as well.
Thank you. Thank you. And to everyone listening, I hope this episode resonated with you in some way. If you enjoyed this conversation, please do share it with fellow parents, friends, and family. Don't forget to subscribe to Parenthood so you never miss an episode. Until next time, take care and keep embracing the little joys of your parenting.